Here on the ground, change happens fast. Problems feel frequent and urgent. It's loud and anxiety runs high. From a satellite view, the Earth looks the same as it did thousands of years ago. We've been here before. Let's learn from our past and shoot for a better future.
Welcome to this week's episode of A Satellite View. I'm Todd Mikkelson, your host, speaking at you from Sunday, February 2nd, 2025, in the space and time continuum. The continuum seems like it should no longer continue. This has been a horrific week. What is it, the second week of Trump? Wow. Seems like a long time. If you're watching mainstream media, you're more scared than you need to be. We're going to talk about some of that. Don't let them and don't let Trump fool you. We've got 2 airplanes down. That doesn't happen ever. Another airplane was taking off in Houston and it started on fire. A wing started on fire. So it's scary. And we need to figure out what's going on. There's a discrepancy between what a radar in the control tower said and what a black box read as far as the height of the airplane that crashed in D.C. Mark Rutte, the head of NATO, I reported 3 weeks ago, maybe? I can't tell time anymore. If it's 3 weeks ago, it feels like a year ago. Mark Rutte, the head of NATO, said that there was evidence that Russia was planning on planting things on airplanes that were going to the United States or in the United States. Things get scary when talk like that is going on. There does seem to be some sort of weird war going on. The Trump administration is basically a mob of terrorists at this point, but it is show. It's a show. These plane crashes, he's trying to blame on DEI. It was insane the way that he and others handled this. What do you expect from a president after a national tragedy that scares the crap out of everybody? Like a passenger airplane crash, a mid-air collision in Washington, D.C. The president normally, what would he do? You know what he would do. But instead, Trump came and said, before there's any evidence of anything, he said, it's all Biden's fault because of DEI. Of course, it's later proven that he was wrong. They said, don't you think you're getting ahead of the investigation? I don't think so. I think it's going to happen. It's going to take time. It's going to happen. And it's going to turn out being exactly what I said. No. They hurried it up. And at least where they are in the investigation right now has already proven you wrong, you stupid fucking idiot. April 11th, 2019. Trump launched a DEI program. The goal was to hire disabled air traffic controllers. All right? It's a show. You know what else is a show is deportations. Okay, in the first week, Trump removed 7,300 people. On average, Biden was removing 15,000 people a week. Okay, Trump removed less than half of what Biden was removing. Except for under Biden, 72% of ICE arrests were criminals. Under Trump, it's dropped to around 50%. He's removing less people and less criminals because he's crappy at everything he does. I'll allow one nasty word per show, I guess. Then I go back to stupid, like crappy. Anyway, I don't use that word in real life. I would use a different word, but what are you going to do? The thing that's going on with Trump right now is he's trying to scare us. And don't let him do it to you. Stop, take a breath, and then take another. And remember where you are, who we are. This is all BS, and it's intentional. And they're copying other dictatorships. They're copying what happened in Turkey, basically. And it's flooding the zone. I used to call it, and I will call it again, the feces fire hose. That was back when Trump was in the first time, but Biden didn't have the feces fire hose. Trump does, and the MAGAs do. So much so that we don't even hear about Congress at all. They're just being bowled over by all this other stuff. These plane crashes, it sounds like a lot of it is because of cutting back on the FAA that Trump did. It sounds like Trump is the cause of these things that are going on. Eggs, right now at our grocery store, the eggs that we normally get are unavailable. Those shelves are empty. We can get the cheaper eggs for more. Heidi just paid more than $7 for the cheaper eggs. So eggs have gone up. Groceries are going up. And Trump is basically telling us, well, yeah, it's going to go up, of course. The tariffs, are they happening? Are they happening? Canada and Mexico are treating it seriously. China is now too, apparently. Justin Trudeau came on and said, well, hey, man, this is going to hurt. It's going to hurt. If Trump does this, well, we're going to do it right back. There is a freeze. Oh, this was crazy stuff. Canada is saying that they're going to stop buying products from the United States. Restaurants and retail. They buy a lot of liquor and wine and products like that from the United States. Canada's going to stop doing that if we put these tariffs on. Did the tariffs? They were supposed to start yesterday. Are they going on? Trump went back to Mar-a-Lago. He's not doing anything. Are the tariffs on? The freeze on all government spending. I mean, everything government does, a freeze. But then, no? Did we freeze the freeze? Is the freeze frozen? Do we have a frozen freeze? Nobody knows. Trump went to Mar-a-Lago. His press secretary doesn't seem to know what the hell's going on. Is the freeze on? Is the freeze off? It's stupid is what it is. I was going to say insane, but it's stupid, and don't let it scare you. It's getting so exaggerated that it's possible that things might need to change. Also, other things that are kind of normal. You heard about Colombia, and you might have heard, Colombia gave in to Trump. That's not true. That's not true. Colombia receives criminal migrants from the United States all the time. All the time. For decades. So does Mexico. So do other countries on regular flights. What Trump is doing that's different is he's filming ICE, putting handcuffs on people, putting them on military planes, which costs the taxpayers a lot of money. They landed in Colombia handcuffed, and the Colombian president said, this is not going to work. You're not going to do this anymore. Trump is the one who backed down. Trump said, okay, what if we just put them on regular flights? And then the Colombian president was like, well, that's what we do all the time. You did that in your first term all the time. I don't really remember anything at all anymore. I mean, so of course the mainstream media reported it like Colombia backed down to Trump when Trump stood up to him. Now they're taking the migrants. They've always taken the migrants. Colombia said, you will not be treating them like this. These are our people. Criminals or not, we'll make them pay here. You send them back here, don't put them in handcuffs, and don't treat them like POWs. So it was Trump that backed down. He said, okay, I'll put them on regular flights like I used to. Be careful of the information you take in. The mainstream media I don't know what their deal is. It's corporate owned. It's corporate media. And the corporations, I guess the owners are scared. I don't know. They're trying to bribe Trump into not punishing them. We have seen over and over again, when you stand up to this twerp, he backs down. That's what Canada's doing. That's what Mexico's doing. That's what Colombia did. You know what's pissing me off the most is that you're so scared. I'm not pissed at you. I'm pissed at him. I'm pissed that he wants everyone to be so scared. I'm pissed that the media is complying. And I'm pissed that you feel so scared. You don't have to. We need to stand up to this twerp and all of the twerps that are on his side. Trump's purpose is to show us that, hey, things need to be changed. There are a lot of things in your country that need to be changed. And you need to think of your country in a different way. The United States needs to be a part of the world and not do this BS, we're the greatest country ever. My daughter went to Rome. She's in Rome for this semester of her school. She's having an incredible blast. It's incredible. She said, I never felt in danger. You know, she goes to school in New York City. I never really felt in danger walking around in New York. But still, somehow here, it feels safer. It makes me sad but happy. So we need to be more like the rest of the world is what we need to do. And I think Trump is here to show us that. We need to be less romantic about our traditions, and we need to get more real about real life and not be so cocky and braggadocious, I think is a word. Yeah, and as per usual, there's just so much. And I realize I haven't really talked about a whole lot yet. It's been a little bit of a rant. Again, I'll end this segment with, you don't need to be scared. Remember who you are. Don't let this twerp and his gang of twerps scare you. When we come back, I'm going to tell you a story that has been unfolding for a few years that is reported scantily in different places all around, and somebody needs to start to tie it together, and there have been people who have been doing that. I'm following them, but I need to tell it to you because I don't think you've heard about it. So when we come back, we're going to review a little bit about Greg Palast that we talked about last week, and also the fact that Elon Musk is being investigated in many countries. NATO is on it, and other entities are on it as well. France has announced that they're pretty much ready to freeze Elon Musk's assets and arrest him for foreign election interference. I'm going to tell you a story starring Elon Musk. Leonard Leo as the billionaire asshole Christian that changed the Supreme Court. Peter Thiel, the sweaty, scared-looking guy. And another guy I've never heard of before, Bar Seed or Bar Seed. I'm going to tell you the story starring those guys when we come back on A Satellite View. On A Satellite View, I want to talk to you about the fact that we need to change a lot of things in the United States, including our elections. Things are different than they used to be. We have a lot of electronic weirdness all over the place. This election was messed with in many different ways, as have been elections going back quite a ways now. Back in 2004, it was proven in court that there were manipulation of vote counting machines back then. That's a whole nother story, but it is true. The Republicans have done something in 2020 where they made it so that we can't talk about this anymore. But it makes a difference when we're telling the truth and not. Last week I talked about Greg Palast. I'm going to go through it again very quickly. Greg Palast has been studying statistics and vote counts and purges and voter suppression for decades in multiple countries, especially the United States. He just last week, I talked about this in depth in last week's show. I'm going to very quickly go through it again to remind you. It took him a long time to get the numbers from the Elections Assistant Commission. But he found through a lot of information where he's got the names and addresses of people and their ballots, and he's had people who know how to go through an insane amount of data, and has found that there were 4,776,000 wrongly purged voters in 2024. That's a lot. 198,000 in Georgia alone. In Wisconsin, the voter purges were black people in Milwaukee and young people, college students in Madison, mostly women. For the first time in 2024, we had vigilante voter challenges where anybody can get a vote thrown out. I can lie about my neighbor and report, he hasn't lived here for the last year or something and get his vote thrown out. 200,000 in Georgia alone by election day were thrown out because of vigilante voter challenges. 2.12 million mail-in ballots were rejected. That's a lot. So the whole story being told, Greg Palast figured out that if this hadn't been going on, which the Republicans have been working on this for decades, voter suppression, getting votes thrown out, especially mail-in votes, he figured out that if all this BS was not going on and we would have had a free and fair election. Now, he doesn't even account for why, when we saw that it was going to be a record turnout, why was there 7 or 8 million less votes in 2024 than there were in 2020? What happened to those? He's not even accounting for that. Just this, just the wrongly purged votes. Kamala Harris would have got 286 electoral votes. You need 270. She would have won Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Georgia. She won the election. And now we're going to tell our story of this episode of Worldwide Election Interference, starring Elon Musk, Leonard Leo, Peter Thiel, and their friend Bar Syed. I'm going to go through a story here. It's incremental. It's kind of hard to follow. I'm going to do the best I can. Embedded within it are many links to stories that back up all of these things. This is somebody called This Will Hold on Twitter who's organized this story and this timeline. This is something that most people don't know. Starting in January 2024, Musk quietly and rapidly began building a low-orbit direct-to-cell constellation in which 265 satellites were operational just 2 weeks before the November 5th election. These low-orbit satellites effectively place the equivalent of a hacker's Stingray device in every voting precinct in America. Elon Musk has been breaking the rules. This is part of why he got the FAA guy thrown out, Federal Aviation Administration, because that guy was leaning on him saying, you can't do this many rockets. Elon Musk broke the rules anyway. He was restricted to something like 25 launches a year. He did at probably 50. Well, he wanted to build this low-orbit direct-to-cell constellation of satellites. Okay, now we're going to bring in Bar Syed. So that's kind of a pin that one, right? Bar Syed, his 2020 transfer of his election security company, Trip Light, to far-right predatory billionaire Leonard Leo. Nearly all election machines in the U.S. are certified to be used specifically with Trip Light products. Products such as DS850 tabulators, surge protectors for a bunch of other machines, uninterrupted power supply units for all Dominion servers. Okay, so this Bar Syed, billionaire oligarch, basically gives his company to Leonard Leo. After a year of ownership, Leo found the right buyer. He sold Trip Light to a company by the name of Eaton Corp in 2021. What has Eaton Corp been up to? 1 week after Musk created his America PAC for Trump, Eaton Corp announced an expanded partnership with Palantir, a company owned by another far-right predatory billionaire, Peter Thiel. By the way, Elon Musk and Peter Thiel worked together and started PayPal in the 90s. Thiel has long talked about destroying democracy via unfettered capitalism, of course, because he's a billionaire. The Eaton-Palantir partnership, those two companies' partnership, focused on secure erasure of digital footprints on Eaton devices and on AI management of large data sets. Data sets such as ballot images? I don't know. Also of note, Peter Thiel has ownership in Polymarket, another company with ties to the outcome of the U.S. election. If you remember Polymarket, it's in France. Americans are not allowed to put money in it, but it's basically betting on the election of the United States, even though United States citizens can't participate. So these guys are betting on it. Polymarket had eerily accurate predictions of a Trump victory. It was raided shortly after the election. The CEO's home was raided. One guy was arrested because he put a big bet in at the last minute, because Polymarket was predicting Kamala Harris for a long time, and then at the very end predicted Donald Trump. A lot of people think that that actually had a sway on the election. In September 2024, Eaton Corp announced another partnership, this time with Elon Musk, further dirtying the election waters and providing a convenient cover for their correspondence and monetary connections. It begs a question. Why is the private, supposedly neutral election voting system company that services and maintains the security of the majority of the election equipment in the U.S., partnering with far-right extremists with direct connections to Donald Trump, one of the two candidates in the election? As Musk was building out the low-orbit system of satellites, he was also hosting weekly billionaire brain trust meetings and overseeing the ground-level infrastructure needed to pull off a mass-scale election exploit. So let's do a timeline here. Now keep in mind, over $15 trillion in minerals in Ukraine needed to manufacture electric vehicles. Okay? So February 24th, 2022, Putin invades Ukraine. April 14th, Musk launches a bid for Twitter. He's offering $20 billion over the market value. Why? Why would you offer $20 billion over the market value? Somebody wants to make sure you get this. By October 27th, 2022, the purchase closes, with help from Russian oligarchs, if you remember. You remember how Russian oligarchs helped Elon Musk pay, I think, $44 billion for Twitter. November 19th of 2022, Musk reinstates Trump's Twitter account. 2023, Musk converts Twitter to a pro-Trump, pro-Russian propaganda platform. Of course, this is all things that we've been seeing. It's all right in front of our face. Throughout 2023 and 2024, many reports of Russians having access to Starlink. In September of 2023, Musk admits to blocking Ukraine from access to Starlink so that the Russians could take over a town I can't pronounce. August 4th, 2024, Musk launches a PAC website to harvest voter images from swing states only. All right? October 7th, 2024, video emerges of Musk saying he would go to prison if Trump loses. We've talked about that many times. Of course, throughout the summer, Trump kept saying, I don't need your vote. We're going to have enough votes already. Elon, he knows these machines better than anyone. Something weird happened on October 25th of 2024. Rupert Murdoch's news outlet, The Wall Street Journal, drops a bombshell on Musk, saying Musk, for 2.5 years, he's had private contact with Vladimir Putin. Musk and Murdoch had a dinner right before that. Of course, everyone hates Elon Musk. So I don't know what that's all about. That's almost like a weird part of the story. Now I'm going to play you something that Donald Trump said. If you remember, the night before inauguration, just a couple of weeks ago, I played it for you then. Donald Trump said, Elon Musk, he knows those voting machines better, the vote counting computers, better than anyone. Well, he also said it on November 4th, the night before the election in Pittsburgh. All right? This is Donald Trump on November 4th talking about Elon Musk and how he and Elon Musk had a conversation. You're going to hear him refer to Elon Musk's SpaceX rocket coming in and how Elon Musk says, oh, the engine is the easy part. The engine is the easy part. The computer is the hard part. Here's Donald Trump talking about this conversation.
And, you know, he said something to me that was interesting because nobody knows computers. That rocket I was telling you about, the way it laid down, he said it's all computers operating the engines. The engines are the easy part. He said the computers, it's tremendous computerization, the way it just shifted it over, so beautiful. But I said to him, what do you think about it? Because he really is watching this whole voting process. And he said, you know, computers are the greatest. He looked at some that were just shipped in, some of these vote counting computers. He knew it before it even came in the door. He looked like at the back of it. Oh, I know that one. I mean, he knows he knows this stuff better than any. And he actually said, and this is for the good of everybody. It's the good of mankind, essentially.
Elon Musk says, I'm doing this for the good of mankind. Of course, billionaire mankind. No one knows these vote counting computers more than Elon Musk. He says, oh, I know that one. I know that one. Elon Musk brags about that he can break into Starlink and control it from his phone. An array of Starlink satellites that can interact with electronic machines in every voting precinct in the United States. France is just this side of freezing his assets and arresting him. They said that. I think there's a lot of coordination going on. There are a lot of reports that are going to be coming out, a lot of work being done in many countries, NATO countries. We've already heard of one or two that have said we've had election interference and we're going to redo our election. The United States needs to think about redoing their elections, redoing the way we do our elections. The Republicans set it up so that we're not allowed to talk about it because they were lying about the steal in 2020. They were trying to steal it. These oligarchs were trying to steal it in 2020, but we showed up and voted overwhelmingly and still won, even with their cheating. Russiagate is real. It's proven in the Mueller report. The Republicans successfully talked about it enough that nobody believes that anymore. The Russians did collude with Donald Trump to steal the 2016 election. George W. Bush stole it by interacting with companies that had access to voting machines back then. I think it was DeWalt or DeBalt. And we had to change. We had to get rid of those machines back then. We had to change. It was proven in court that Ohio was stolen in that manner by George W. Bush. The difference in 2024, at the very last minute, they were able to hook up with Elon Musk, who had access to these satellites. Even though we showed up in overwhelming amounts, and the numbers say that 7 or 8 million less voted in 2024, how do you feel about that? We saw, everybody was talking about mail-in and early voting. This is going to be a blowout, best turnout ever. And it turns out 7 or 8 million people less voted in 2024 than 2020. You know how you feel about that. So this is very maddening, and I don't want to make you even more angry. But don't let these twerps steal your life, your happiness, your being with your loved ones. Don't let them steal a single minute from your life. Don't be scared of them. They're a bunch of twerps, and they're idiots. They have no idea what they're doing. The tariffs probably are not going to take hold. I don't know what's going to happen with that, but did the tariffs start? I don't know. Nobody knows because they're idiots. They don't know how to do. They're saying they're going to do all these things, but they don't know how to do it. Yes, they can do a lot of damage, and yes, they can do a lot of scary things that even that they don't understand what they're doing. It's very scary that we had 2 airplane crashes in 1 week. You can also see Trump backing down over and over. Talked about that in the first segment. They can't do the things that they are trying to do or say they're doing. They're failing in their effort to do the whole Project 2025. I know people are saying, oh, it's happening. Well, really? He keeps backing away from everything. And people are turning on him. This is a very difficult period of time. We're in it together. I'm with you. You're with me. Let's keep each other sane through this chaotic period of time. Remember, everybody that you know in the world is together here with us. We're all in this. And we've got good and smart people on our side. They don't. They don't have any good people or any smart people left on their side anymore. I can't say that I hope that this made you feel better because I don't think it did. But please know, we are going to get through this together. And don't let these twerps get to you. Don't let them scare you. Don't let them take away your happiness. Enjoy your life. Enjoy the people you love around you. Do the things that inspire you and that you love to do. Stop and take a deep breath. That's what I got for you this time. I really felt like I had to tell you this story because all of these things are true. And if I know about it and the people that I was getting it from know about it, then other people know about it too. Joe Biden knows about it. Kamala Harris knows about it. Mark Rutte knows about it. The leaders of other countries, certainly France, they've already announced they know about it. I want to thank you so much for listening to this episode of A Satellite View. Next week, I know I told you I was going to do a Casey Kasem countdown this week, but all of this stuff happened and it just almost didn't feel appropriate. Planes crashing. Hopefully this week, I don't know. It can't be worse. So let's hope this week is better than last week, and let's hope this week is great. And let's try and put our energy toward that. Let's all think that collectively. Let's be positive. Let's stay positive. Don't let these twerps beat us. So thank you again so much for sticking with me and listening to this episode. We'll speak at you next
week. You've been listening to A Satellite View with Todd Mikkelson. Go to toddmikkelson.com for links and more information.